Running away from any problem only increases the distance from the solution. The easiest way to escape from the problem is to solve it. I think history is going to look to this as something we should have paid attention to. We are trying to run away from something you can't run away from. Hiding under your bed with Anderson Cooper for 2 months, 3 months, isn't going to make coronavirus go away. And CNN is even headlining right now an article that proves this. If you go over there and you can stomach it, look at the #1 headline. This doctor from the CDC says it could be back next winter no matter what we do. Worse, apparently. Are we going to destroy everything then? See, this was the problem. Now, fair warning, before I click over to the next picture, I have found a third example of this technique the media has used. And I shouldn't say the media, Hollywood and the media has used to distract from the truth. I think there are people in Hollywood, very few and far between, hidden in the cracks that have been trying to communicate something. Because every time something important comes out, they find a way to distract you, and usually it's some scantily clad woman, whether it's in TV, whether it's in the news, or whether it's in movies. Now, that warning having been given, I'm just going to click over to the next image so people know it's coming. I tried to make this allegation with Fox, that the first thing they need to do is get you in an emotional state so that you don't question anything you're listening to. I also made the allegation in another video that they have mainstreamed hypochondriacs and psychological dysphoria by distracting you with the girl on the right. They were trying to make her out to be a dunce and making it all funny, but the guy on the left, okay, his big hero was Spock. Spock, the character from Star Trek, the logical guy, the guy with the pointy ears. I found this meme, and it reminded me of something that I don't think anyone out there is going to be able to explain. Social distancing, because the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Okay. That seems like that would be a logical approach, right? Well, in the storyline, the quote-unquote Federation, the Alpha Quadrant, whatever you want to talk about, describe, the good guys, encounter an enemy they can't really wrap their minds around. This is the Borg. I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about here. Those of you that don't, it would take a long time to explain. But basically, the Borg were a collective of automatons that showed up and really didn't have anything personal against those they assimilated. They just wanted to make themselves better, make themselves more perfect. Their whole collective, they went from solar system to solar system, galaxy to galaxy, collecting up all of the unique species they could so that they could be better as a group. Now, back up a minute. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. Isn't that exactly what the Borg were saying? Your puny little society really isn't that important. Your freedom of self-determination, your rugged individualism, your ideas of what you want for your futures, that doesn't outweigh the needs of the many. And the Borg Collective had assimilated entire galaxy, solar systems, civilizations. They far outnumbered those that they had encountered here. So it's the same faulty logic. But when you showed this to people, they saw it as evil. When you showed this to people, they saw it as good. even though it was the same thing. How could you do that? How could you show somebody, logical thinking people, in their logical thinking brains, how could they see this as good and this as evil, even though it's exactly the same thing? I'll tell you exactly how that was possible. This is the most popular Borg character in the franchise. Actress Jeri Ryan. And she's an actress now, but she wasn't necessarily an actress before that. She was yes, you guessed it, she was a bikini model. So, we have Kaylee Cuoco, we have Sandra Smith, and now we have Jeri Ryan. Are you starting to see a pattern? Now, lately in this new incarnation of Star Trek, Picard, she has become the literal embodiment of anti-collectivism. This idea of the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few is antithetical to freedom, is antithetical to liberty. You don't trample on the rights of the few to help the collective. That makes you the Borg. That makes you the bad guy. And make sure that when you ever confront these social distancer people, make sure you remind them of this. They're the bad guy. You're the collectivist that's attempting to use fear to trample the rights of the minority. And that's all this is. And the reason nobody saw it in The Big Bang Theory, and nobody sees it on Fox News, and nobody saw it in the entire Star Trek franchise, is this thing that people laugh at me about teaching. It's this distraction. And just real quick, here's the article. CDC chief says there could be second, possibly worse, outbreak this winter. This is the Fox 5 version of the same story. You see, they've been wrong over and over and over and over again. When these people confront you and they say, why don't you trust the medical professionals and why don't you trust what they're telling you to do? Because they have been so wrong. So many times. Nobody can explain right now Venezuela. This was one of supposedly the most vulnerable countries in the whole world. Medical system on the edge and teetering on collapse. Everybody without food. Nobody without homes. Under the tyrannical fist of the iron dictator. Blah, 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 blah. And they have one of the lowest rate. They have the lowest rate in all of South America. I think it might be the lowest in the hemisphere. I mean, they are way, way down there. They're down there with Vietnam. Let's see if I can find them. Mexico's only got 8,000 cases. Only 700 deaths in a country of, I think it's 90 million. I think Mexico and Brazil are both 90 million. But let's see, where is it? It's way, way down here. And they've got 20, 25 million people, at least, in Venezuela. I mean, their deaths are like nothing. Here it is. 285. You ready for this? 285 confirmed cases and 10 deaths. 117 recoveries. Absolutely amazing how unbelievably wrong they've been about this. On so many fronts. Even Fauci himself was wrong. Remember him saying, it's not going to affect most of North America until it did. And even then, the models that they said of where it would transmit, where would be the hot spots, if you did this, you're going to get sick. People didn't. The people that did other things did. It's bizarre. It's absolutely the most bizarre thing, unless You look at it from the standpoint of bioethics. And then it makes perfect sense. It's not depopulation, but what it is taking advantage of a situation that occurred. I truly, honestly believe this was a situation where they made the judgment that, you know what? We need to create this. We need to make this event hit everybody. And yeah, it's going to kill some people, but those are just going to be necessary casualties for the greater good. Because look at how clean the canals in Venice are. Look how clean the air is over all of these cities in India. Look at how much fossil fuels we're not burning and how much cleaner the air is, and the collapse of the oil markets. These are things they have been aiming for and gunning for years. And look how easily they were able to slip it by. See, they're not going to come in ships. And they're not going to take you by force. They're going to make you go willingly, trying to sell you this. Because this and this are the same thing. And I know, especially the women out there in my audience, I'm sorry if it bothers you. Men are weak. I'll admit it. I'm one. They get distracted easily. But when somebody can take that and use it for evil, I haven't mentioned it, but this thing has also caused pornographers to get filthy, stupid rich. Nobody's talking about that because that's, of course, a little bit too controversial. And that's really the dance with YouTube. That I show a picture like this and people are like, oh! But there are channels on YouTube where girls do nothing but go and buy underwear. Actually, the underwear makers send them the underwear. And they do nothing but sit there for an hour and try on underwear. Whole channels, that's all they do. That's their job on YouTube. But I'm the bad guy because I'm trying to make a point with it. Trying to snap some of my compatriots out of their, I don't know, stupor? Is that the proper word? It's everywhere. And it's being used now for something other than entertainment. The next time you're confronted by one of these people who want to shame you for standing up for your rights, remind them the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few is basically the exact same message the Borg was sending. Like, share, subscribe.